Well, earlier in the session, we heard from our friends talk about the Chevron decision and deference and some of the things, and I know that John Wills very adeptly represented Iowa, but I wanted to give you a chance to talk a little bit about kind of the steps that you took, but also what you think might be down the road in terms of making sure that we push the power back into the states the way it should be and not out of the federal government or the agencies.
Well, I think Chevron, that it over time and really escalated, after several years, just consolidated the power with the administrative state or the federal agencies and really removed the checks and balances that I think the Constitution, laid out. And so I think that's never a good thing when you're consolidating power with unelected individuals. And so, I think it's a big step in the right direction. I think it could be an exciting time for our federal government to really own it and take responsibility for it. So, but we've done a lot even outside of that, which has really been very beneficial. John talked about the realignment where I cut 21 agencies from my cabinet. I'd go to a cabinet meeting and I'd say, who is the person at the end of the table there? It was ridiculous. There was just no coordination, there was duplication, we were ineffective, it was taking, days to get a license. It was just ridiculous what we were seeing. And I wanted to just be a more responsive, first of all, smaller government is always the answer, and it's what I drive working with the legislature all the time. So it's fun to work on that together because we're so aligned in what we're trying to get to. But I saw that play out even in the response to the disaster. Because I had a smaller government, we were actually able to get on a Black Hawk and fly to the area so they could get a sense of the damage that was being done. And then the next day, we went back with the entire cabinet and sat with those people, the local governments and people that have been impacted, to really start addressing their issues in real time. And I had so many of them just say, it brought us so much hope just to see agency after agency that was sitting right there listening to what we were dealing with and saying, well, we can get around that. Well, that's not going to take that long. That's ridiculous. So that, I've seen it in real time, the benefits of a smaller, more effective, more efficient government. So that, and then the boards and commissions. And I want to tell you, this legislature, this thing was a 1,500 page bill. We stood it on my desk because I thought, Iowans needed to see that. So when we signed it, I set it there, and it was like this tall. It was to just manage that through the legislature. It was really a big deal.
That visual strikes home.
It does. Like this is what we're eliminating here.
It's a really powerful statement.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of when President Trump was in office and he put out that edict: for every one regulation we write, we're going to get rid of 10. And I think the administration beat that by 13 or 14 to 1, which was great. And I just think if you're a small business, or even the way I run ALEC, you want it to be more efficient and more effective. You want to kind of streamline and say, okay, who's responsible for this role, and how are we kind of cutting any of that bureaucracy?
We eliminated a 5,400 case backlog by ALJs for workforce that was projected to take a year and maybe 2 months. And by implementing alignment and bringing all of the ALJs together, we eliminated that backlog in 2.5 months. And there's just story after story after story of that. So it works. And so again, I think it's important that we make sure that it's elected representatives that are driving that ship.
Absolutely.
And not an administrative state.
We applaud the Stand Together team and AFP team for what they did in bringing that case, the fisherman's case, to the courts and staying with it all the way through to the Supreme Court. So just amazing, amazing work.